After the wars of the waste of 300 years, humanity succumbed, and all were marked with a number on the body. If it reached 0, Alteng would drag them into the abyss, just like Hina's mother was dragged before her eyes. His last wish was that Hina take the dark orb and find the legendary ace. After 5 years traveling the world, List appeared before her eyes, and the other girls fled, calling him weird. He introduced himself and begged for his thighs, but she kicked him in the face and ran away. The man kept running after her, wanting to feel a piece of those divine thighs, but he was thrown against a tree so that the real plot of the story could develop. Milfi apologizes for what Hina just endured and introduces herself as Nana. While giving her food, Nana asked herself why Hina traveled so far from her country. Hina reveals that she has been looking for a single person, wanting to find the reason why her mother was taken from her. Nana feels bad that no one has ever been there, so she reveals the rules of this world. All are marked with a number on their bodies, and those with a smaller number must obey those with larger numbers. In addition, their accounts refer to something special. For Nana, the number 77 on her huge canyons represents of times a customer said that their food was delicious. However, it decreases every time a customer calls their food disgusting. And as soon as it reaches 0, the owl has the escape to the abyss. After learning the rules, Hina realizes her number refers to the miles she walked. After all, she traveled 441,000 miles. Lish begs her to explain everything because he wanted to study that number in depth. But soon after finishing saying those words, strange man appeared with a white star on his face, proclaiming to be the legendary ace. After hearing those words, Hina began to cry and went along with the strange man. Inside his office, Hina had difficulty revealing that she was looking for him. The man wanted to see the number of people she had killed, saying he could add one more. Hina didn't like his cheesy pun, so she tried to change by showing her the mysterious orb her mother gave her. As soon as all the soldiers saw her, they immediately cut the sofa she was sitting on, ordering her to hand over the legendary seal. She tried to refuse and showed him claiming that people with lower numbers must obey those with higher numbers. Upon hearing his words, he took her out of the room and said use his military patent to force her to a star stake duel where they bet their body counts, and defeated her, stealing her body count. The man reveals that he was pretending to be an ace all the time and orders her to hand over her vote before the ace goes to the ground. Lish appears to save her, saying he will take her place in this duel. The military leader thinks this match will be a joke after seeing her negative count, and attacks him with a bunch of blows, throwing him backwards. He continues to attack him, but the men realize something is wrong. It is impossible for someone to have a negative star count without being sent to the abyss, so they realize that he must be holding one of the legendary seals. In an instant, he disappears from the sword and promises to return. 5 years of search for Hina by his mother, restoring his count. The sword, it became clear that he was hiding the white star and that it was the legendary ace she was looking for. All the enemies advance against Lish with their swords, but before they could reach him, he disappears and the ground shakes under them. He moves so fast that he seems invisible to the eye, and he destroys the entire field before kicking his opponent in a devastating kick. His steps generate enough wind to throw the man against the wall, and Lish continues to attack him until he forces him to return. The opponent tries to rebalance and throws a whole bunch of sword blows at Lish, but none hit him, saying that he is too slow. With lightning speed, Lish advances over the opponent and hits him in the air. Nana reveals to an old man that Lish only has a negative because he was rejected many times over the years. He jumps into the sky and Hina opens her eyes. Incredible that there is a person who can fly in this country. She believes that he is really the ace she was looking for and asks if he is still hungry, saying that she will buy him dinner. However, Lish says that she does not need to worry about paying back for recovering the bill, but she says she doesn't care about it and just wants him to be safe, promising that she will buy him food when they return. Lish promises to protect her and will come back to have a meal with her, running toward the ground like a shooting star. After winning the duel, the old thing surrounds him to withdraw his number and grabs Hina by the legs, forcing them to open to increase their number of bodies. Lish asks if she is okay, but she was happy to see that he was safe, crying because she finally managed to find the man her mother was talking about. Noticing the soldiers, changes his expression and steals her orb. His personality changes and he informs her that with the money he can have a Ferrari and no longer need an ugly one. His number of achievements is 5,700, so she should know he was a playboy, but not to leave her empty-handed. He says he will give something in return, throwing an old toy as a souvenir. Hina wonders why her mother would send her to find the ace if he treated her that way. Lish reveals that there are many aces and he was not what she was looking for. With the sun setting, Hina returns to the city. Nana wonders what happened to her and Lish, but Hina tears up. He had taken the only thing that Hina's mother left him and she wonders what to do now. Nana looks at the toy and feels something strange in it, asking Hina to hold the toy just a little longer. The toy starts to move and explodes, revealing the cell inside. Having a cell is the worst offense in the country, explains, so she's sure Lish just wanted to protect her. He had packed his bags and was ready to leave the city, but Hina ran to try to reach him. Her only way to protect her was to pretend to steal the cell and run away from the nation. Then, when she finally saw him in the carriage, she screamed and begged him to wait. But Lish said to the coachman to continue. Hina begs him to stop because she's been looking for him all her life. There was no one else in this cold world after mother left, and she traveled for years feeling alone, especially seeing other children with their parents. She was afraid of being alone forever. But when she finally found him and Nana, it was the first time in her life that she felt happiness again. Every laugh she wants to share with him and calls him a liar for breaking the promise. She screamed, "I hate you," and his number went to -1,000. After the sun finally set, a soldier appeared and saw that she was still grabbing the cell. But he promised that he would keep his secret. In fact, he was there to thank her, because he finally found ours, the most wanted human being in this whole nation. The next day, a girl named Lynn discovers the news of the wanted man Lish, but wants to distribute pamphlets to the rest of the village. She tries to take care of the village as best she can. On the number of times she helped others, her count increases. But there are two more special things that go up her mini skirt and my big toy. Out of pocket for that sh*t, way out of pocket. Jill wonders why she's helping others if number only increases when they need serious help. So he tells her to go back to doing something productive, like finding the wanted criminal. While she continues to walk, she thinks it would be impossible to find someone with a silly mask like that. But she puts her eyes on the pudding man and immediately tries to take off his mask. The pudding man says that this mask is completely different from Lish's because he has certified to change it since yesterday. Lynn realizes that he's right and apologizes, but before she leaves, the pudding man tells her that he's wearing a mask because he's very ugly, and shows her that he was rejected by 1,000 girls. Her only wish in life is to have a date before she dies. So Peel begs her to help the man, as this can increase her count. She tries to offer her hand to the pudding boy, and her count increases in time. They spend the day drinking together and end up reaching a dangerous bridge, but Peel encourages them to simply cross it soon. Carefully, they take each step, but the bridge shakes, and Lish sees the chance of a life, so he looks for a way to the plot. He notices that Peel is the best partner in the world, and Lish sticks his long eggplant between the two melons. But the trunk under Lynn breaks, and Lish barely holds it. She faces him and realizes that she finally found the demon hunter of her dreams. After all this, Lynn wonders if she should end the meeting. But the pudding man starts crying because he doesn't want it to be his last meeting. So Peel encourages her to give her the best thing in the world, the lap pillow. Her count goes up instantly again, but Peel is not satisfied. He's the best digger at Chad Wingman, so he tells Lish to start licking her thighs, and her ranking starts to go up faster than Peel getting to the climax. After having lived the biggest climax of life, Peel thinks she's really an inconvenience because the man in front of her is the criminal wanted by them. She ignored the fact that he has a negative count, and realizes that he must be a cell holder, just like the person on the wanted poster. She finds out who he is, but Lish takes his sword, saying he can give her another one to penetrate his round shields. But Lin, with the power of the anime thighs, almost annihilates him. After countless kicks, Peel reveals, however, that he gave her the best every time she tries to kick him. Now she realizes that her enchantment armor gives her a defense of -100 to notice that he was not even scratched once by her kicks. However, Lish reveals that she has already inflicted fatal damage. Since the moment she met her, her heart was shattered. This is a Digger Chad song. Lin says she can't live with a criminal, but she wants to have at least 3 children and a long life with him as a good father. After hearing about the children, Lit, however, decided to buy milk and left the pudding for Peel, the best Cupid. He tells her that he ended up exposing his plan for nothing, and Lin screams in agony. Hina serves customers at Nana's store. The lieutenant appears at one of her tables and asks about List's whereabouts. She tells him it's no big deal, so he immobilizes her and asks once again to reveal the truth. The lieutenant gets up, telling his soldiers to go west, and destroys her entire store. After the rubble began to settle, Hina asked how he was so powerful, and Nana revealed that this is the power of and the lieutenant must be with one of Lin's village. Lin regrets not having managed to catch Lit and realizes that he will never be able to get rid of his short skirt. Then a man offers to help her. They continue running through a grocery store, and the girl runs faster than everyone else to try to sell her realizes that Lin must be arguing with her boyfriend. Everyone in town hears the words that she has a boyfriend and runs after her. She tries to deny this accusation. Lit wonders why she would show him her secrets if they weren't dating. With the distraction, Lit manages to escape over on the other side of the city. Hina begs to help her find Lit before the officers do, but Nana tells her that they can't travel until they fix the car. Lit realizes that something is wrong in this city. Even with a criminal looking around, he notices how the city is terribly peaceful. Everyone is looking for Lin for help, and a mother even begs her to name her daughter. But the father expects her not to wear mini-skirts like Lin when she grows up. The baker shouts, showing that a boy was trying to steal again. But Lin tries to protect him, saying that he will force him to do voluntary work and begs the man to reconsider. She promises the child that she can take care of him if he is hungry the next time, and he starts crying. All the elderly want her massages, but she accidentally steps on a doll while crying. Pio suggests that she look for Mr. Pudding before he runs away. Lin says she can't ignore what is important to people, and Lit finally realizes the source of peace in this village. Then he jumps and offers to fix the doll for the girl, returning the fixed one. While they were chasing him, Lit noticed something strange, and protected Lin from the thorns that sprung from the ground. The commander surprised and said that the doll was not a doll, but Lin only cared about Lit's health. The soldiers surrounded him, and Jailer told Lit to stop pretending to be dead before piercing him again. With the disguise revealed, he takes off his pudding costume, and Lin reaches the climax seeing him so beautiful. They start hitting him, but even dodging the attacks. He tries to save Lin from the crossfire and runs away. Jailer says he's going to take care of him, but Lit prefers not to be mistreated. Lin tries to intervene, but to recite the mission that was given to them, so she takes the opportunity to explain the rules of the program. Cedulars contain mysterious abilities that activate when someone holds them, and the military are the only ones legally authorized to carry them. Even so, Lit thinks this must be a tough fight, but Jailer is right. After all, a person with 5,700 is much stronger than 900, so he encourages Jailer to run away. Jailer launches his abilities, stakes pierce the ground to try to stop Lit. He tries to dodge the attacks while through the wall, but the stakes pierce his path. Without other options, Lit disappears and starts moving at blinding speeds around Jailer, so Lit has no choice but to run away. But Jailer jumps faster than him and crushes him with an iron pillar. Lit finds it strange that he is so powerful, but realizes that Jailer must be hiding a bigger number. Jailer reveals that this is his conviction, punishing evil with one's own hands. Steel pillars begin to surround them, and he continues to reveal his real number, 12,500. Lit realizes that he is in trouble, and Jailer prepares to launch an attack. but Lit can barely dodge it. Lim wants to try to save him, but his plan was too big for that gap. While Lit tried to contain the giant fist, a smaller one flanked him to crush his core, but he quickly regained his balance and began to move faster than before. However, even with his new speed, it was too slow for Jailer, and used his ability to get closer to Lit. Jailer realizes that Lit is in danger and tries to save him. Even with his new speed, it was too slow for Jailer, and used his ability to throw Lit's sword high. Unarmed, Jailer prepares for combat body to body, but realizes that Lit took the same posture as him. Jailer saw a gap and unbalanced him with a side kick. The sword finally fell into his hands, but he returned it to Lit, saying that it was too slow. Lit said that his mother is slow. After being insulted, Lit decided to go all out, and jumped into the sky to prepare his final blow. However, Jailer was not afraid, and threw his fist into the sky since he could no longer dodge. Before Lit lands, Jailer throws a devastating blow to crush his confidence and holds him with his iron. Lit begs Doze to free him, but Jailer promises he won't do it until he delivers all his compasses. Then Lit says that Lin's armor was white, and the whole village agrees. Jailer thinks that everything is a mystery about this man, but wonders how he is part of the military. After fighting him, he noticed that his martial arts were special techniques taught only to supreme soldiers. The army spent countless resources to capture him, but Jailer considers it pathetic with only 5,700. Lit refuses to report his friends, saying that he is not a X9. Then Jailer summons a whip to rip out his information like the 6-9. However, when he threw the whip, Lin protected from the blow and said that he is not as bad as he seems. He always helped her, but Jailer says he heard about her attempts to build a children's park and considers his efforts useless. The city being at peace is not without its duties and calls it useless. Lin cries, agreeing with his superiors, apologizing, but Lit prevents her from apologizing. He tells Jailer that he didn't cut his iron because he didn't want to damage Lin's city. After destroying the algemas, Jailer realizes that Lit must have hidden his true power all the time. He prepares to release his full strength and advances with his fist. The energy emanating from the shock destroys all the land under them. Lit shouts that Lin is not being lazy because the city is at peace. On the contrary, the city is at peace only because it is not lazy, so he orders Jailer to apologize to her. The cliff begins to crumble, and Lin falls into chaos at full speed towards her, but Lit advances 10 times faster and manages to grab Lin. He says she's fat and begs her to be quiet, but she says she hates him, and her count decreases again. Jailer manages to reach them, and Lit throws Lin towards him so he can save her. This was his opportunity for revenge, but he chooses to simply jump back towards the village and take Lin to a safe place. He tells her to get out of him because she's a fat idiot. He sees Lin's leaflet and now understands Lit's words, so with his powers he creates a little steel park. He tells Lin that these foundations will only last as long as he is nearby. He will give her 3 days to bounce them before they go after Lit together. His number drops after betraying one of his convictions, but he wonders what the real strength of that man is. The girl comes to give him the toy to fix it, so he creates and spends the rest of the day trying to help her. A week later, Lit started to run out of food, but Rena finally found him. With his 3 new ones, he started to growl like a crow, but Rena said he used that beak just to compensate for the lack of persuasion. She told him to stop and took off his mask. She would never confuse him with anyone else. Nana calls him to eat, and they start talking about who knows what. I don't know why it's so hard to write something about Rena this gets distracted by Lit's sword, but Lit thinks he's finally ready to drink milk. Nana punches him, saying he needs to work if he wants to make some money, so he should get firewood with Rena. They started to get firewood together, called him a liar for breaking her promise to her. However, she shows him the lunch she prepared for him so that they could keep their promise. Lit tries to apologize for his actions, but she thinks that he may have looked for other girls while she wasn't around. But Rena doesn't care because she at least got to see him. As soon as she finished the sentence, a plane came flying from above and a redhead girl tried her best to make it fly. Lit realized she was going straight to a ravine. When she thought she was finally flying, the plane dived down. So Lit jumped off the cliff to grab her and jumped off the plane just before they fell. When Rena ran to see if they were okay, the redhead girl jumped on him asking if he was flying. She investigated the second beak, but he said that if he couldn't fly, he could go on it. Lit has a climax, and she sees that the late Claire's sent him to another dimension, so she grabs him and starts dragging him. Rena asks her to wait, so the girl introduces herself, saying she feels she can make her dreams come true with them. In the cabin, she shows him her knife prototype, saying this will be her best attempt. All her life, her only dream was to fly, and she thinks it will improve everyone's lives when they can fly. She wants it to work just once, so Lit goes to see her projects and realizes the mistakes she has made. Flight research is forbidden in this nation, and the penalty is death. Even so, Pelmo believes that some dreams are worth because dying. Without them, living would be useless. Lit thinks she may be right, so she decides to take the pen and correct her project. She sees the shape and thinks that this would finally solve all her mistakes, so she expels them. And while they were waiting, Lit wondered if he had really done the right thing. Rena thinks he did the right thing, but she runs away, and Lit feels the bone of his sword harden. She wonders what his dream would be, asking why he traveled all this time. It's a secret, he says to her, and starts rolling before holding her hand, saying he will reveal his goal to her. He wants to use the beak to penetrate the bottom of her defenses. Who created this guy? Rena has a climax, but says it's complete and wonders if he interrupted them. The plane was finally ready, and promises that this time she will be able to fly it. In the distance, Lit sees an army advancing in direction, and Pelmo realizes that they have finally found her. Lit draws her sword and prepares to face the army. In the last second, he knocks down her plane to destroy it. Pelmo thinks she understands, and to inform her that they heard about flight tests. She shows them the damage, claiming that she was just trying to fix her old windmill. After the soldiers left, Pelmo knew she would be executed even if her plane worked, because the witnesses would hunt her for the rest of her life. Lit thought this would be the safest option, because she could always try again. Rena promised to stay by her side until she could. But as beautiful as these words were, Pelmo revealed that she could never try again, and her count fell to 0. Her count was based on how many times she fulfilled her dreams. And as it started at 10, she failed in each attempt until the last. She tells them not to worry, and Rena begs for help, remembering the day her mother was taken. Rena tried to run to save Pelmo, but her hands pushed her away. They continued to advance towards Lit, and although he had chased them, a mysterious electricity shocked her body and memories flooded her mind. Rena begged for help, but she said not to cry. Being sent to the abyss is not guaranteed death. So she is sure she is going to another world, and in this world she promises to make her dreams come true, and feels that she will be able to meet them again. She says goodbye to them, and Alton disappears. Rena gives up but promises to meet her again one day. Lit fell by her side, and she looked into her eye, seeing a number 001 engraved inside. The next morning, Lit sees Rena clinging to him, and remembers his helplessness to save Pelmo before being sucked. All he managed to do was clean up the mess of the other person's dream. Rena ended up waking up and saw that Lit had disappeared. After looking through the tent, she found him washing his face. In the city, the annual festival was taking place. Lit was the only one with a dark expression on his face. She tells him to cheer up soon, so he says he's excited, trying to develop a plan in the middle of the city. Lynn screams that he finally found him and wants to thank him. So he seduces him by locking him up, saying he's ready for a spicy roleplay. Rena wonders who the girl is, and Lane introduces himself, saying they dated in her city. Rena also introduces herself, travel together while he looks at her skirt. Lit knows he's going to have a huge headache, so he starts running away, but Milky Milks comes to destroy all his hope. She laughs, thinking the dynamics remind her of the beginning of an anime. She created a contest to solve all the problems. They will do a Gordon Ramsay-style culinary competition, and tied the hostage to feed him with any food they can imagine. Both wear their costumes, and Lin searches the city in search of fresh vegetables. The merchant finds it admirable how she is a cute wife, begins to flatter her to buy more of his products because he is a real cheat. At the same time, Rena collects wild mushrooms, and a giant bear advances in her direction. But he had fallen into her trap, and the poor bear realizes that his end has come. Lin is already preparing the stew, and Nonna starts to create her own fanfic of how his life will be. Rena returns with the bear in the wild. She dissects the body in front of everyone, and the whole city is shocked with her skills. What the hell is this witch doing? Lin's meal is ready, and she serves it to her husband. Lin tries the food. He tells her that it tasted worse than his last salty cookies game. But the only thing she wants is that salty cookie to be her face. The men are impressed that his compliments worked. But Rena is still not out of the dispute, and she introduces him to her dinner to have come straight Jeffrey Dahmer's basement, so he takes a bite. Disgusting, he says, but Pale wants to taste it, and the best texture she's ever felt. She is happy that her food finally managed to pull a smile from him, and he thanks her for preparing such a delicious meal. However, the contest is not over, and Nana makes him choose the winner. He faces them and realizes that none of them have tasted his meat yet. Jail arrives to interrupt the party. He wonders why Lin is dressed as a useless maid instead of arresting him. But Lit shows him that he has already been counted, but that he will leave now. Jail prepares to face him, and his thorns destroy the entire floor of the city. Lit takes out his exaggeratedly long sword because he is making up for something. He advances against Jail and deviates from each of the thorns that attack him. Jail knocks on the floor and wonders why Lit was holding his true power in the last duel. He pushes him back and advances against Lit, but destroys the fountain behind him. Throwing a hook straight towards Lit. He stopped at the last moment as Lit did not dodge. Nana shouts to stop as ATI destroyed the entire city and orders the mess to be cleaned up. Both kept their weapons. After fixing the floor, Jail and Lit had dinner together. On the way to find Lit, Jail stumbled into a city that was devastated, and all the villages had already been annihilated. He found a giant void where they used to be, and a survivor tries to walk to them. He says that on a quiet day in the village, their lake was replaced by a giant hole. A giant green demon with 6 wings began to fly, and fireballs began to rain on them. Jail thinks it is most likely that a bullet carrier was responsible and wonders what kind of bullet carrier would be able to fly. But he realizes that he knows a single man capable of flying. Lit tries to deliver a drink to Jail. Jail says he doesn't have time for games. His iron activates again, and he points a spear directly at Lit's eyes, informing him of the destroyed city. The responsible was a demon from the abyss, and Jail knows that he must have valuable information. Nana suggests that they drink apple cider to talk freely, which gives Jail a brilliant idea. He puts all his savings on the table and asks for all the grape juice she has. Lit calls him a pervert for trying to make him drink. Jail is more shocked with Lin's game clothes. Of turning bottles begins, and Jail tries to steal his information. Lit tells him to drink faster, so they decide to turn the bottles first. Their anger grows faster than a face, preventing them from seeing the manager. And the girls wonder if this was the best approach. However, Nana is enjoying this business, and of giving them a special service for all the money. She put the bottle down and drank all the liquid. Meanwhile, the grape juice starts to mess with Lin's thoughts. And she realizes that she won't be the best girl in this show, but at least she was happy to have lived all those moments with Lit. Still, she has repressed desires growing inside her, so she swears she won't lose to Aina. At the same time, The two men start to stick bottles in each other's mouths and drink all the liquid until they pass out. So suspicious that their actions were. The girls only care about one of them, fight to see who he's going to rest on his lap. Nana's only concern is her business, so she pours urine bottled into his mouth. But after he pushed her, the floor began to shake, and Pale revealed that a giant hole appeared in this city too. When Yale arrived at the location, the survivor shouted that everyone would be annihilated, so Yale ran to evacuate everyone. Iking realizes that she has heard this noise and tells Yale to force everyone to retreat. Yale realizes that Lit must know something, and the demon begins to emerge from the abyss. Lit looks with tearful eyes, wondering how those things could still fly after the wars of devastation. The giant helicopter aims and begins to shoot, but Yale tries the villages from his blows before he seems to evacuate. However, he begins to flank them from behind and fires a missile against the last possible moment. He erected a barrier to defend them, and Lit orders everyone to evacuate immediately. But Yale says he has no right to take command. However, Lit reveals his military patent and says he will take command as a colonel. The helicopter deflects again and begins to shoot towards Lit, but he evades all attacks while running towards the helicopter. He throws a missile at the ground, but Lit takes it down and runs to the sky. He uses the pillar to throw himself higher, but the arms of the whole thing surround him and throw him on the ground. They try to reach the helicopter, but with the height limit, he flies above them, shooting non-stop on the ground. Lit tries to jump off the pillars again, but the object prevents him from approaching. He attacks one of them, but the same mysterious electricity shocks his body. Hina begs Lit for help, but Yale reveals that it would be impossible, as the soldiers would be executed if they attacked the whole thing. While Lit endured the pain by attacking the arms of the abyss, he was overthrown. Hina begs for help, as he only wants to save the others, so Yale takes off his glasses and asks Lin where he would have put them. She says she has no idea what he's talking about, and he says he can't see his glasses and throws a straight pillar towards the arms. He throws 3 more iron pillars against the whole thing. He doesn't know if he breaks the law because he can't see anything. Lin says his vision suddenly got worse too, and launches an attack against the whole thing, inspiring the rest of the army to follow her. Lit sees the opportunity they created for him, so he moves forward the helicopter, but what his eyes see shocks each bone in his body. A rain of bullets comes from above, causing the helicopter to fall into the abyss. A white woman appears from above, disappearing to point a gun at the back of his head. Lit recognizes her as Sona, and one of them shoots directly into Yale's abdomen, dropping him lifelessly towards the ground. The girl presents herself as the ace of the chase and begs everyone to forget she doesn't trust anyone after all, so she starts shooting to kill everyone in this city. Sona grabs him from behind, saying she missed him after all these years. She begs her to stop because what she's doing is wrong, and she tells him that she will always obey her order from the past, the order to kill everyone in her path. She tells him to watch because she finally created the courage to pull the trigger and pushes him down, shooting at people. Lit shouts for her to stop and tries to dodge the bullets, but realizes how they go around his sword to knock him down. This is his special ability, the power for his bullets to follow the target, no matter how many times he tries to dodge. The bullets hit the ground, crushing his spine. Reno runs to try to save him, but the soldiers contain her and immobilize None. All her friends were subjugated, and Sona wonders what she will do for her friends. If she wants to save them, all she needs is to be the Rohito senpai. One of the commanders points the gun at a child, and she begs him to go back to the old days if he wants to save the child. She wonders what colorful flower would she create if the child were shot, imagining how bright and beautiful she would look. Her only solution is to go back to old habits. It's getting harder and harder for him to contain himself. But Lit tries to comfort the child, saying that he will save her. He promises to save him with all his friends, but the boy begins to cry for his mother. Sona tells him not to make promises he can't keep and orders the soldier to do it before flying. The trigger is pulled, but Sona looks back, and no soldier is standing. Those who guarded their friends disappear without a trace. Lit says he told her to stop, promising to end her as she wanted. Nonna begs him to stop, but he tells her to shut up. The soldier warns him that he will shoot at Rena. Then Lit remembers Rena the time she asked about his goal, and remembers when Jail asked who he really was, and then he finally reveals it. He passes by Rena, obliterating the soldier who arrested her to take everything from this nation. Sona was excited to see the commander's mask she so desired, and begged him to kill her now. Lit reminded her to say the 2 words necessary for 2 wings to fight. So Sona said she would bet all her stars, and Lit agreed to bet all his. Alton began to emerge from the ground, surround them, and Sona began to shoot at Lit. He jumped towards her and continued to try to cross her storm of bullets. He was fighting while Rena realized that Sona's count was 32,000. His bullets much higher than pierced his armor and threw him against the building. Rena was ready to run and save him, but Pelia calmed down. Since the fight with Jail, he noticed something strange. He was fighting a man twice his strength, but Lit still held him, so he must hide his real powers. Lit sees the tomato sauce covering his hand and passes it on his face. When he gets up, he releases his power and a red aura emanates from the skies, and Rena explains that it is the hidden real power in an ace, allowing his count to reach 57,000. This was the pure thirst for blood that Sona was looking for, but when ready to shoot, she noticed that he had disappeared and began to tremble with fear. Every time she turns around, she realizes that he is nowhere to be found. Even so, she believes that her bullets will follow him, but sometimes being deflected by pure wind. He appears behind her and advances implacably in her direction. Nonna shouts for everyone to get away from him, continues to strengthen himself. His aura begins to turn purple. This was the secret personality hidden in him, and she is only freed by the intention of killing Schmerman. He jumps towards Sona to annihilate her, and his bullets don't even scratch her. With all his power, he attacks Sona, throwing her against the building. His count begins to fall to 16,000, and Nonna reveals she was also under the control of a personality. She fights to wake up and collides with the weapons around her. She was one of the weakest. She never shot anyone until the end of the war, Nonna reveals. Lin tells her to stop being useless glasses, but Lin tries to stop him from attacking. However, Lin asks if they are enemies, saying that he will eliminate whoever is his enemy. The only thing that floods his mind is the desire to annihilate his enemies. But Tina runs to hug him, begging him to be who he was again. He thinks she's another enemy, but before he could finish her, Sona shot her and said she was the real one. Liu released Tina and went to Sona, and when he caught her, ready to kill her, Sona wanted him to touch her again, as he did in school. When he unleashed the blow, Jail appeared to stop him from wondered if this man was his enemy and hit him in his direction, but a golden light blinded everyone. The shock wave of the attack makes Jail fall, and while Lid tried to unleash a blow down on him, Jail blocked him with a single iron on his finger. This iron is your conviction, Jail said, and since Lid had no conviction, he told Lin that he would never be able to pierce him, and sent an iron pillar to crush him. Lid tries to get up, saying that his war will not end until each enemy is eliminated, because then he can save the rest. Jail finds his admirable words and swears to follow his convictions, treating the opponent with the respect he deserves. Then he takes off a glove and wears it, revealing his true power. Lade tries to advance and stop the Iron God's blow, deflecting his axe. He approaches and manages to repel all of Jail's attacks. But with a powerful blow, he throws Lin into the air and crushes him. He kicked Li's mask and asked if he was awake. All of his friends began to run in his direction, and Lid apologized for scaring them. Sona came to apologize, but Jail spat tomato sauce after eating a lot of pasta and fainted. Hina was happy that her man was back. A week later, Alton tries to drag Lin to an Lin apologizes for not being able to stop, since he doesn't want to end Sona. Nonna thinks this will disappear, but Lid would rather it stay forever. Alton begins to develop the real plot of this story, and also thinks it's a bit of Hina. But as there is no plot to develop there, he fails and runs away to develop a real plot. Jail enters the room to interrupt the plot, saying that he came to eliminate Lid for attacking Alton. None, however, orders him to stop being ridiculous for following and eliminate the only one who protected the others. Jael recovers his senses, and Nonna is happy to have found the only man who has faced him in the last 300 years. Thank him, along with everyone in this room, for believing in him. She shows them the secret she kept in her sleeve, reveals her status as Ace with the white star on her face. She warns them that this is not a dream, because if they die in this world, they will die in the real world, and sends them 300 years in the past. Secondary school, where Lid came when he was a teenager. As they walked through the academy, they noticed that everyone looked as if they were a group of Kipiras fallen when they realized that they had teleported 300 years ago. Jael told them that they needed to find Lid immediately. Hina suggested that the boy seen outside school was Lid, but everyone was uncertain because he looked completely different from the real Lid. That afternoon in the corridor, a tall and ugly brute ran into Hina, scaring her with his hideous and disgusting face. Decided to confront him, asking for an apology. But he pushed her because of the discomfort. When Jael came in, the evil guy punched him, but he easily dodged. When the guy started to stab his fingers, Jael tried to use, but found out that there is no magic in this world. The man punched his face, but when he tried to punch again, a young woman asked him to stop. She was the scary girl named Sona, who had attacked Lid in their city, but at that moment she looked like a saint. When the guy threatened Mola like a bag of cookies, another boy named Takakazi decided to stop him, but Jael told him to suddenly get away. Appeared between Hina's legs. Soon, the commander appeared in front of them, announcing that they were in a military school and would be sent to war in a few months. He threatened to destroy those who did not obey his orders, but impetuous lieutenant interrupted him and introduced himself, announcing that they were losing the war and on the verge of losing the city. However, the pale-faced commander took off his microphone and introduced the major. When the major arrived, everyone greeted him. After sitting down, he began to read a story to sleep. Some students laughed at him. The commander told them to shut up, but they continued to laugh. Suddenly, he shot at one, leaving everyone in shock, and when he shot more students, the tomato sauce hit Hina, making her fall on her knees. Everyone tried to run out but found that the door was locked. The commander threatened to kill anyone who tried to leave. When he saw Hina trembling, he called her weak and useless. When Jael tried to save her, a boy took the commander's gun and attacked him with his sword, but he stopped him with his foot and kicked his face. The commander said they would be eliminated for attacking him, but List ordered him to drop the gun, threatening to kill the major with a cane. When the commander warned that he could end him quickly, List began to leave him, realizing that his plan had gone wrong. He rolled a cloth over the cane and pulled out a flower to convince everyone that he was kidding, but no one believed him. Then the commander decided to teach him to twist his neck, but List was very afraid to try. When the commander threatened to kill Hina, he immediately released the major. However, the major advanced in his direction, threatening to kill him while a strange fog enveloped them. But at that moment, Finder stopped them and told that their action was a mere introduction to the academy. When the students began to wake up, the commander told them that the guns were full of ink. When he introduced himself, he threatened to destroy them if they refused his orders. Minutes later at the cafeteria, Hina thanked List for his support and even without her memories, she was happy to sit next to him. The next day, Jael wondered why Nana sent to the academy because List was just a boy here. Later at the library, Phil revealed that Alton had this world for years, but it was a mystery to everyone. The commander appeared behind them and said Alton had fallen from the sky during the past wars, built by an advanced technology that forced the inferior to submit to the superiors. The next day, in class, the commander announced that the major would be their new instructor. When the major arrived, he said that everyone would receive 2 stars and would need 8 more stars for the army promotion. However, if they lost all the stars, they would be expelled from the school. In addition, there were only 2 ways to win a star. They could win a contest or challenge a rival to a fight, where the winner would have all the stars. With everyone having received theirs, List realized that left none for him due to the conflict of the previous day. If he wanted to stay at school, he would have to steal the stars from someone else in a few days. In the girls' room, they decided to help List find a star, as he did not intend to stay at school or enlist in the army. He was there only for his friend Takakazi, whom he hoped would convince him not to go to war. The next day, in class, the girls threatened to destroy List by looking at them in the bathroom, but Hina was more concerned about keeping him in the academy. Suddenly, a student told them that their closets been invaded and that their stars had been stolen. Upon arriving at the devastation, they could have destroyed their closets, and soon began to accuse List of stealing their stars, as he was the only person without a star. However, Hina intervened to protect him. After hearing a scream in the corridor, they found Takatora taking the stars from Sona in the same way he stole all their stars. When Takakazi asked to return them, he demanded his own stars and threatened to beat him until he became an octopus. Afraid of being humiliated, Takakazi tore him from his chest and handed him moving over. Away, Jail appeared in front of him and threatened to kill him in an instant. However, Takakazi interceded for him and asked him to let him go. When Lin tried to challenge the brute to a duel, Phil made her trip and said he would never accept her challenge. After Jail gave his star to Sona, the other students followed his example and began to share theirs. Hina tried to give a star to List, but he did not accept, as he did not care about staying in the academy. After Takakazi gave his star to another student, suggested that they steal the stars from the bully. But Takakazi was afraid of losing his teeth. That night in class, Takakazi told List that he decided to join the army because his family was starving, and that he could only feed them with the food he kept for himself. As soon as he was expelled, everyone would starve like the rest of the city. The next night, List invested against Takakazi, asking him to return the stolen stars, but he was thrown against the wall. Leaving the academy, Takakazi saw Jail appear in front, threatening to destroy him in that instant, but the brute was determined to go with them. However, when he punched, the major appeared. He said to the Lord, noticed the lack of his stars, and then the false ones exploded in powder, revealing toy frogs. Apparently, List stole them by begging for the stars. While his anger grew, the major told him that he could not join the army, and gave Jail 2 new stars for his bravery. At the same time, List decided to stay at school. Takakazi's family always had something. He suggested that they not fight for promotion in the army so as not to die in the war. The next day, at school, List knew that the commander wanted to punish him for spying on the women's bathroom, so he told Takakazi that it was not him, but offered to take the punishment for all. As Takakazi would not denounce him, he promised to repent of all sins. That night, he ran to the women's bathroom, beautiful cherries that would make him enjoy it until the new year. Upon entering, he found a furious cats that began to beat him on the floor. They had exchanged the male and female plates, and the fool had fallen into the trap. When the girls ran to the bathroom itself, List began to escape but was caught by the commander. As punishment, he decided to send them all to the forest, saying that they were as guilty as him. In the forest, the girls began to kick List, blaming him for the problems and for the lack of beauty sleep. When Jail suggested they set fire, the girls offered to fetch water and ran to the river, but List knocked them down, causing them to fall on him. After that, the girls decided to reveal their plans to him, waiting to see him reach the climax until they lost their minds. As they would soon join the army, they thought it would be better to get used to weirdos like him. However, when one of the girls, Ikonos, tried to reveal her plan, List covered her and walked away. He asked why they were determined to enlist, since they would have to eliminate other people. So Ikonos said that joining the army was the only way to keep his family safe. While she was crying, Major appeared, suggested a new army that would do no harm to anyone. He thought that as super powerful humans could join the military and even stop the war. Happy with his words, they began to applaud. However, Jail thought he was hiding secrets. That night, when Major entered a secret room, Jail followed an underground facility and observed them in a secret laboratory. In the laboratory, Major wondered how the war could be stopped and asked to destroy the enemy headquarters, promising to revive it with mysterious technology. Lieutenant Fire 2 told him about her strange experiment with a rat that 100 other rats in an instant and suggested experimenting on the students. But Major did not accept. Wanting to carry out his own experiment, he asked for the cell and put it inside the rat box. After a moment, the rat shone with a strong light to the ceiling, beginning to be shocked by the laboratory. But he froze him in an instant, causing Jael to panic and fall to the ground. Fortunately, a girl appeared and took him to her room. She said he could leave in a few minutes and teleported to the room to show him the watch. When Jael asked who she was, she said she was Nana, 300 who had just become the first ace with her experiment. She had received a letter from Nana from the future, warning about his arrival and that she would help him when he had problems. She said that when Alton fell to the ground, some powerful people began to emerge, attracted by his mysterious power. As a result, Major began to use his power, hoping to create superhumans like him. They began to experiment on children, but Nana was the only one who survived, as the others died shortly after. When she said that Major would do his next experiment on Lit, asked if the older Nana would send him to the past to prevent surgery. Lit became a renowned exterminator in the future. But the younger Nana couldn't answer. She feared that stopping the experiment could destroy the entire future. So she gave him a drive from the older Nana, who would explain what he should do in the past. When he was about to leave, she offered to rescue him from the facility, but she refused, fearing to change the future. But as he came to change the future, Jael thought that saving her was his duty, but she was determined to stay. When he left, he reached the elevator, but the commander appeared behind him, asking how he infiltrated. Jael pulled the gun away and tried to hit his trunk, but Commander blocked him. He said he was too slow and kicked him. While he hit the gun in the head, he advised him to make friends and learn to deceive them to be a better fighter. When Jael tried to attack again, the commander guessed what he was trying to do. And at that moment, Jael realized that the commander was his father in his real world. When he faced him, he decided to introduce himself. He was from the future, but that he was waiting to change him. On hearing this, the commander asked him to visit him the next day. The next day, the commander took them to a deserted neighborhood, and soon the people left in a hurry with their weapons. They had been hungry for weeks and desperate for food. When the commander shot, everyone stopped, but a boy started asking Lynn for food. When she asked about her mother, he said she was too weak to walk and would soon faint from hunger. Lynn decided to feed him, but the commander took him, knowing that hungry neighbors would kill a poor boy before he got home. He told the boy that he should eat the food in front of him, but the boy couldn't let his mother starve alone and started running away. When the human zombies tried to run for food, the commander threatened to eliminate them, so they ran away. He told Jael that trying to change the future a waste of time, as the present was already fucked. After returning to school, Rena suggested rescuing the academy before he was the target of experiment, but Phil thought it would be a useless effort. When Rena suggested a different plan, Jael told them that the best bet was to change their own world. The next day, the students had their morning routine run. When it was over, they were exhausted on the floor. However, Jael decided to ask for a training session. The commander and attacked him quickly, but he dodged. When he stole the commander's cigarette, his anger grew, so he started throwing a bunch of punches at him while they kept moving like cockroaches. Soon the major arrived and told them about a new training for their skills, giving everyone a gun. The next day, they played on the beach, and Lyd couldn't help admiring the beautiful cherries in front of his eyes. The major announced a contest, stole the flag from each other to win, and gave them water guns as support. However, before the contest started, Lyd suggested throwing the guns away because he believed they could convince the enemies on the battlefield. So when the competition started, they started running away with the flag, making the opposing group run after them. When they were exhausted, Lyd came back to claim their flag. In the next round, they faced a new group led by Takatora and started running away again. But when they came back to claim the flag, they found Takatora was with them and had no intention of letting them win. When they ran again, the guy attacked them. Lyn then appeared on a mountain and lured him there. However, When he reached a dead end, Taka threatened to crush him like an insect. After advancing against him, he fell into a valley, allowing Takakase to take his flag. That night, the group decided to celebrate the victory and named Lid their new leader. In the secret laboratory, the commander was informed one of his men was eliminated in a secret mission. Then Fina suggested that new experiments started on the students before they lost the war, but the major was angry with her words and threw ice stakes around her. Fiona was convinced that raising super powerful rats was a waste of time and said that the students were the best bet. The next day, the major called Lit to his to make him the human laboratory rat, but when they were informed, the students asked for the cancellation of the surgery. Fiona said it was the only way to win the war. Lin asked Li why he accepted to be their guinea pig, and he said he hoped to save lives in the war. That night, Fiona suggested they stop the surgery, but believed that the future would be rewritten by that act, erasing the city of existence. The next morning, they said goodbye to him, worried that they might never see him again. As he moved away, Lin ran to him, but decided to let him go. In class, Fiona suggested that they stay with Lit after the surgery, and help him in the war so as not to become the exterminator in their world. Jail agreed with her plan, and thought they would have to prevent him from wearing masks in the future. Suddenly, they saw helicopters flying towards the school and immediately launched a missile at them, exploding it. Shortly after, soldiers invaded the school to annihilate everyone in sight. Takatora smashed a soldier to the ground, Sona to save herself and annihilate them all. But she was paralyzed with fear, so the guy grabbed her and started shooting at them. At the same time, a smoke bomb exploded in front of another group of soldiers, and Jail ran through the smoke, punching two of them, while Takakaze cut the last two. Enemies appeared in the smoke, but the commander shot them down, and the students were able to escape. At school, Fienda informed the commander that die from the surgery due to lack of energy, so the students offered themselves to find the reserve generator. As they walked down the corridor, they came across an enemy. The commander shot him down. When another one appeared, Takakaze shot him down, and the commander shot the last one. Outside, the commander shot more enemies and ran to the building next door. While Aikos was fighting a soldier, another hit her leg, but a student flew and punched the enemy before being shot several times. Hina decided to treat his wound and told the boys to find the generator. In another part of the school, the commander shot a board, but when it fell, bullets hit it immediately. Realizing that they could lose their lives trying to find the generator, the commander decided to distract the enemies. While the students were running away, a missile was launched against him and blew up the room. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, Liu woke up and noticed a different hair. The major gave him a sword, saying he had the power of a cell, but he would only free him after he decided his account. When Liz said he never used a sword, the major claimed she would make him the greatest fighter in the world. Outside the school, while the soldiers were preparing to kill Hina and her friend behind them, and dust fell, they found Liz shocked against a wall. While they were shooting at him, Lin realized the bullets were moving slowly, so he shot them back. When the soldiers stopped shooting, realized that he was moving too fast for the bullets. He started walking towards them, but realizing that his friends were dead and injured, he flew into a lightning bolt and crashed into their helicopters while blocking the bullets. He attacked a soldier, causing the floor to explode. After a brief fight, he pushed him and hit him with his sword. With the enemies defeated, the students gathered around him, happy to see him again. But soon after, the soldiers approached, and when they threw their vests on the ground, they threatened to kill everyone along with them. However, Lee grabbed the detonator and smashed it into pieces. Desperate for another impression, the soldier said that the school was full of explosives and threatened to eliminate everyone with a simple order of explosion. Lid feared losing his friends to another attack. He drew his sword to scare him and make him surrender, but the man didn't give up. In his city, his annihilation only guaranteed that a few more would have extra food to live, and therefore they were seen as the bravest act in the world. As he began the countdown, Takakaze advanced with the sword, but Lid killed him in a blink of an eye, shocking everyone. Hina and her friends, teleported from the future to prevent this moment, were shocked to see the past repeat itself in front of their eyes. After a moment, Lid ran away, but Hina soon found him vomiting, destroyed by the guilt of his act. As she tried to console him, a mysterious light enveloped her and her friends, and she soon realized that Nonna would teleport them back to the future. In front of her, Lid took the sword and swore to be the human exterminator. By uttering such words, a star appeared on his blade, marking her for his count. Desperate to impress him, Hina flew to him with a kiss and put his hand on his earring, asking him to never forget her because she would return to have her children. With these words, she disappeared before him in a colorful light. While the other students saw the others disappear behind them, saying they came from the future. A war broke out in their world, and each city fought to eliminate the others, so that they were the only ones left on Earth. Because the whole world was devastated by hunger, Lin was determined to keep his friends away from war, so he faced the enemies alone. When he returned to school, his friends were waiting for him, but he ignored them. He had killed more than 1,000 soldiers and was overloaded by the weight of memories. That day, Nonna found him while he was taking a shower, and in a short time they became friends and read books together. She decided to have him as a brother, and as she was always alone, she always waited to see him every day. But as the weeks went by, Lin began to change, as he was very marked by the battles and soon became unrecognizable. In the battles, he continued to destroy soldiers and enemies. After annihilating several, he became a shadow of what he was. One night, the girls tried to seduce him with his plan, hoping to see him react as before, but he simply walked away. He was determined to end the war alone, so he took a mask from the wall, and when he ran back to the battle, he attacked the enemies. After a few weeks, his friends asked the Major to do the same experiment because they were eager to support him in the war, so the Major agreed to it. When it was over, only 4 people were compatible: Takakaze, who was known as the ace of sudden attacks; Takatora, who was known as the ace of heavy attacks; Sona, who was the ace of persecution; and the commander, the ace of explosive blows. When Lin was leaving for another battle, Takakaze and Sona offered themselves to support him, but he drew his sword and threatened to kill them in an instant. Then they saw him leave, allowing him to continue his reign of terror in the battlefield. At the Major's office, Finder suggested enemy countries invading and stealing their seeders. Because the food disappeared in the cities, she believed that they could become the most powerful nation in the world if they had all the seeders and created their own Disneyland in the clouds. With these words, the Major decided to accept the plan and agreed to send Lit's friends to war. However, when Lit heard their plans, he went into frenzy and began to hit his friends with his sword to drive them away from the war. When 2 of the boys tried to stop him, he pushed them and cut Sono's arm. So, to honor his wish, they decided to stay away, hoping he would return to his old self. A few years later, the war ended, and with the Major had the 7 seeders of all the other cities in the world. He decided to create a new world using his powers. They began to rise towards the sky to form new islands. However, they continued to drain food and fuel from the lower Earth. Without food and fuel, humans on the lower Earth were basically dead and could never attack the world above. After a few years, the population began to grow again, but no one knew about the world below or why the city floated in the clouds. With the power of the whole, the new world was ruled with total control, and numbers were given to everyone so that they would never stop working, while all who lost their numbers were dragged to the lower world, condemned to hunger. As a measure to keep their secrets safe, floating objects were considered illegal, so that no one would ever see beyond the islands. The lower Earth, which was called the Abyss. With the power of the 7 votes, the islands managed to keep their shape. However, if they disappeared, their world would collapse in an instant. A few centuries ago, Takakaze invaded the room and stole one of the seeders, as he believed it cruel to use all the powers of the seeders while the lower Earth was starving. However, when trying to return, Liv flew his direction and killed him in an instant, allowing Finder to recover the seeder. Seeing his friends gather around Takakaze, he realized he had become a monster and soon passed out of shock. 2 decades after the war, he woke up and discovered that his friends had stayed in the lower world, determined to save the surviving children. But with very little food, they decided to get so that the children would survive longer. A few weeks later, Lin and Nonna decided to leave the army, and for 100 years, while they traveled together, Lin never said a word and never took off his mask. He blamed himself for the death of his friends. Although the new world was created as a result of the wars he fought, he was convinced that he was the worst living human being. In the year 300, after the war, continued to travel around their world, hoping to find a settlement for both. But Lin never took off his mask. However, at the end of the century, he finally decided that the best would be to destroy the islands as an expiation for his sins. Nonna hoped that Hina and her friends could change the future and turn Lin into a new person, but neither of them discovered that the past could not be changed. So, when they returned to their world, Nonna finally understood why Lid had become a human exterminator. But Hina wanted to talk to him first. When she found him in a cliff, she decided to reveal her earrings again, hoping he would remember her from the past. But he covered her with his cape and said he was too old for her. At Nane's camp, the group began to drink PG juice as a celebration of the return of the past. But suddenly, Gal hit Lin on the floor and showed Nane's video of the 300 years of travel together. She was by his side all these years, dreaming of Cinderella's wedding. However, he was so immersed in guilt that he never noticed her presence. But at that moment, Lin realized that they were real and soon hugged her. He told her that he was the saddest person in the world for the amazing memories of all his friends. But he was happy for her to be by his side and not let him kill him. That night, while sleeping by his side, he was happy to have her with him. The next morning, Nonna decided to drink more PG, but Lid told him he was going to the city. However, Hina found him in the forest and asked why he was always running away from her. She wanted to be by his side forever, was disappointed that he didn't want to be close. Lei said he met her mother 300 years ago at the academy, and that the seal she received from her mother was a powerful weapon that could destroy their world. But her mother wasn't, and so he wondered how she survived so many years. He wondered if she knew who her father was, but she didn't know, so he told her it was Takakaze. Hina's mother was his lover, but he killed her when he stole the Major's seal. He was convinced that it wouldn't be the person her mother would ask him to find, knowing that he killed her father. Every time he looked at her, he was amazed by the memory, and his guilt made him want to stay away from her forever. When she began to feel dizziness from a sleeper, he put on the needle. He told her that he would destroy the entire army and was not willing to put anyone else in danger. So he took her to Nana's camp, where everyone else also passed out at the table. However, when he started to leave, Jail asked why he was trying to steal the remaining seals. Because he knew that the islands only existed because of, and that without them, their world would be destroyed. Lei then said it was his way of spying on his sins, since he himself caused the existence of the islands. But Jail didn't agree with him. So they faced each other, threatening to annihilate each other, but then they started to move away. Since Lin was determined to destroy them, believed it was his duty to eliminate him in the next confrontation. The next morning, Hina and her friends discovered that Lee had gone to the city to attack the entire army, so they ran to find him. Through the city, a powerful force threw Lid to the ground, and Takatora appeared before his eyes with the power to control gravity. He said he imagined crushing him for 300 years and his power against him, causing great stones to fall on him. A few hours later, Hina and her friends reached the rubble and found him passed out, but shortly after they were surrounded by the army. Inside the city, Jail decided to find father, who was the head of the academy. When his assistant said he was having breakfast, Jail kicked the door that fell on his head and challenged him to a fight. As the thing emerged from the ground, Jail advanced with a punch, but he held his hand and dodging the blow through it. Jail attacked again, but was stopped by a blow, punched in the head while the commander stomped him. But he managed to deflect a blow to his head. When he challenged him at the academy, he hoped to acquire a skill for the future and was happy to see it useful. While Jail summoned a metal beast, it broke the ceiling and destroyed the office. When he deflected a blow against it, the beast caught fire and the commander revealed his powerful ring and burned Jail's uniform, making him unconscious. With nothing else to lose, he decided to tell his story. 300 years ago, before going to the academy, he had a family that he loved very much. But one day he discovered that they were killed by a man who stole the food, so he followed him home and tried to blow up his head. However, realizing that the man had a fragile son, he decided to spare his life. He considered him his son and advised him not to seek revenge. The author took the story from him, leaving him with only one and no other option but to restart the whole process. When Jail challenged him for the second time, threatened to annihilate him like a piece of useless paper. However, Jail was not afraid to miss his last count. He wondered why he didn't ask Nonna to take him to the past so he could save his family from annihilation. But the commander knew that a single change in the past would ruin the whole future and was not willing to lose what he already had, so he said he would never come back. Meanwhile, Hina and her friends woke up in an underground cell, asked why they decided to visit the past while he released his power over them. But soon no Major appeared, also wondering why they went back to the past. He told them that List had been doomed to be a cruel exterminator since his first day at the academy. When he threatened him with a staff, told Takatora to do a new experiment. After he left, the ugly guy prevented a soldier from giving Hina a mysterious drug that would grant him super powerful skills. When he tried to force it into her mouth, Takatora felt jealous of sharing power and unleashed his power on the man before exploding the ceiling. He believed that only the few students who fought in the war years ago deserved to be elite soldiers and was determined to eliminate all the others. As soon as two men ran in, he launched a force against them and stepped on the man. He threw another force towards Hina and destroyed their chains, sending them out immediately. But when Hina tried to take her staff, her bag tore and the cell rolled to the ground. Seeing this, Takatora's anger grew again. He threw them to the ground with his magic. He believed they were planning to destroy the island, since Hina owned it, and threatened to kill them. When Lin tried to run away, Takatora threw her on the ground again. To distract him, Phil grabbed his leg and Hina held him, asking Lin to find Lit soon. Takatora shot Phil to the wall and grabbed Hina, threatening to kill her there. However, Lin took advantage of his distraction and away quickly, but the human wreck threw Hina aside. When he got out, he started summoning stones from the ground and threw them. The stone hit her shoulder and cut her leg, but it wouldn't stop. However, when the ugly bully threw another stone beam at her, she was stabbed by one of them, but managed to escape on horseback. Satisfied with the damage, Takatora returned to the underground and told Hina that Lin would certainly faint in a few minutes, that they could start preparations for her funeral. Hina believed she would survive, so Takatora promised to save her if she came back in a few hours. And when she released her power on the wall, she collapsed, revealing Nonna on the other side, because he wanted to completely eliminate them. Meanwhile, Lin fell off his horse, having lost a lot of tomato sauce, and began to drag it towards Lit. He was still unconscious, and it seemed he would never wake up again. At night, she tried to revive him, fearing he would be unconscious for a few more decades, and breathed air into his mouth. However, having lost sauce, she was exhausted and passed out on his chest, while her life passed before her eyes. She was sad that she couldn't say she wanted to be by his side forever, but she hoped he would wake up to save his friends. However, a few hours later, she woke up and the friends of the city who had bandaged her wound and were happy to see her wake up. But when she found out that Lit was still unconscious, she began to cry and moved away. Before her eyes, the sun rose to the sky, and thought her friends would find their end soon. But as it began to fall, Lit grabbed her. At the same time, Takatora watched the sun to release her power against Hina and her friends. When she tried to crush them on the ground, a powerful flame broke in front of him. With the dust going down, they realized it was coming to save him. But when the angry guy attacked him, Lit told him to calm down and told Phil to do a Grey's Anatomy in Lin. When they left, Lit apologized to Hina for avoiding her, and said that he always wanted to be by her side since he met her as the weird stalker. Happy to hear his confession, she decided to, promising to be by his side forever, and wondered how early they could have children. However, Lit was more worried about the battle ahead of him. When he left her, he drew his sword and threw his cape away. When Takatora released his power and threw stones at him, Lit dodged everything and attacked him with his sword. After a brief fight, Takatora fell to the ground. Masonic appeared and shot to escape. Takatora trapped him with his magic, forcing him to block her bullets with his sword, and for a short time dodged the combined attack. But before it was too far, Takatora caught him again with his magic. But when Sona started shooting, he cut the bullets and ran away. Takatora threw his magic at him, and when the bullets crossed him, they threw Lit back and exploded, making him fall to the ground. When Takatora released a powerful force on him, Sona started shooting again, but he blocked her attacks. Then Takatora released more power and forced him to fall, allowing Sona to fire more shots at him. She told him that when she was made an elite soldier, she hoped to have a place next to him, but was disappointed when he abandoned her and the rest of the group when choosing to fight alone. And with that, it started to rain more bullets on him. Takatora believed that Lit was responsible for turning Sona into an unbalanced Lit threat. Thought he was trying to save her from becoming another human exterminator, while Takatora was releasing more power, destroy him. Nana intervened and tried to protect him. The guy pushed her away and threw a powerful force on everyone. Determined to save them, Lit decided to release his own power as the Ace of Destruction. However, Jail emerged after an explosion, crossing the dust to save him. When Takatora and Sona attacked, cutting and punching. When Sona started shooting at Jail, he remained without fainting from the attacks. While she fired more, she tore her clothes, but he was still unbeatable. Desperate to eliminate him, Sona continued to shoot, and after a pause, she started shooting again. But Jail started walking in her direction. In panic, she shot with a rifle, but continued to miss the target. Then she took a revolver and shot again before reloading. But Jail held her gun and reminded her that had warned her at the gym to be a good person, but was disappointed to see her become a fifth-class exterminator. Touched by her words, she collapsed, crying. Takatora realized that the numbers were no longer in his favor, so he tried to launch an attack on Jail, but Lit cut him. When Takatora launched another attack, Lit tried to block it, but his sword was taken from him. Lit said he was trying to destroy the island. The low ground was in poverty and asked for help. Takatora didn't care about anyone, punched his face, but Lit punched him back. As the subject punched him again, Lit returned the gesture. Then, when they collided, they pulled their teeth and smashed their heads before recovering. During the war, Takatora eliminated thousands indoctrinated enemies to fight, and now feared that the destruction of his islands would lead to another war with the low world. However, Lit was convinced that everyone would be better for their survival in the low ground. After realizing that he would not be able to stop Lit's determination, Takatora launched an explosion against him and threatened to annihilate him. By launching 2 attacks, Lit cut them in an instant. Then Takatora invoked strong lights, but when he released them, Lit fled. The guy launched a powerful tornado against him, but he stepped on a rubble and flew away. But soon he was sucked into the abyss, and the tornado wrapped itself in a ball, while Takatora crushed him in powder. Lit woke up in a strange kingdom and saw skulls around him. As he tried to move, a strange mask appeared before his eyes, and he heard Takatora's voice, who warned him that he was at a gravity well from where he would never escape. To these words, more masks appeared around him, all of the elite soldiers. They ordered him to kill himself and forget his plans, but he cut one of the masks and saw himself recover. When he began to cut them all, he soon got as they glued back together immediately. After realizing that he was really stuck, he decided to give up. But at that moment, he heard Hina's voice, so he took his sword again, determined to escape the kingdom. And by channeling a light through the sword, he began to cut all the masks and placed the sword on his skull, destroying everything in his way. In the real world, Takatora was ready to launch an explosion. His magic began to shine with a strange and light, intense. And when it exploded, List appeared before their eyes. After telling Takatora that he was determined to fight to the end, he launched an attack on him, but Takatora blocked him and deflected him. Running in his direction, he punched him in the skull, making him fly against a wall. When he got up, he told List that the commander held 3 of the cells, while the major held 4 cells. And when he returned Hina's cell, he began determined to stay away from List's war. A few days later, List visited Lin in the hospital, but when she opened her eyes, he had already left. When he left, Phil appeared behind him with a sword, asking how he knew he could treat Lin when she was injured. List told him that he knew all his secrets, but decided not to tell any of his. Simp was only interested in winning Lin's heart for himself. That night, after List told told Hina that he was ready for the development of the plot. She decided to reveal her cherries to him. Our hero quickly got in the way and began to retreat to a tree. She was determined to, and did not lose sight of him. In the forest, List told them that he would stop fighting to destroy their world. However, he believed that it would be better not to depend on the power of balance. Was becoming too powerful to control. He thought the islands would be a better place if no one was sent to the abyss, and decided that he would eliminate the Major and create a new world for everyone. When he said those words, Sona appeared above them, offering to join the fight. While traveling in a carriage to a different part of the islands, Hina promised to stay with List forever. She told him that since she received her mother's ball, she was looking for him and would never leave him, so List promised to always protect her. She hugged him, saying that she would count on him. Watch this next video. Until next time, my legendary colleagues, masters of the plot.